Hi guys! So today I have a really important topic, which is basically the foundation of my body work, and that is authenticity. And nowadays there are a lot of body of works in the coaching scene, which talks about a lot of, dating tips, advices to talk about how to, for example, get a man to fall in love, get a man to commit, etc., etc. However, there's this really important aspect that we must not forget, really, especially if you want a real, genuine, authentic connection with another human being. Because it's so easy to get lost in this immense, this universe of coaching advices, of dating advices. But when we lost sight of what's truly important, we are really losing what we actually desire the most, which is the genuine connection. And you see, there are a lot of techniques out there that teaches you how to manipulate the situation, how to manipulate the person. And these manipulation techniques, they often come from a place of fear because people fear that if they don't act in a certain way, basically, then they cannot get what they really desire. So they think that, okay, if I learn this, how to speak, how to pull back in the right timing, etc., then the other person will really fall in love with me, feel really attracted to me, etc. But the thing is, this world, with all that I've learned actually, because I learned a lot about modern therapeutic practices, trauma, all the psychology and human nature. And I also learned from ancient wisdom, from shamanism. And all these things that I have learned, and I could be really obsessed with it at times because I really, ever since I was young, I wanted to understand what is it that really keeps two people connection, like attraction, like what bonds two people together. And from all the things that I learned, our energy is always honest. It is always authentic. So what this means is that if we come from a place of fear, if we come from a place of lack, scarcity, survival mode, so that's why we want to manipulate the situation, then the people that we will resonate with and therefore attract will be the people who has complementary wounds, complementary trauma, complementary insecurities and fears. So one of the examples is that we hear a lot about this, become the unbothered woman, right? And while the healthy version of it is good because it means that, okay, I come from a place of high self-worth, right? So that I don't get bothered with certain things that are, for example, if he pulls away, I don't get emotionally crumbling down and I can be grounded, right? But when we try to fake being unbothered, like putting in a poker face, what happens is that we might attract a man who is the complementary wound of it. So imagine many women out there in this world following all these advices of, don't give yourself too much right away, like pull back, don't respond to their messages right away, say no sometimes to their invitations. And what happens is that they are not being authentic, right? They come from a place of fear of giving too much so that the other person might take them for granted. Now what happens? Healthy men, they see this and they get confused. Like, okay, this woman seems to not be so interested. So maybe we are not compatible. So then they go away. And it happens with me, for example, when I see guys who are inconsistent. Basically, instead of me thinking, okay, am I not attractive enough? Maybe I need to fix myself to act a certain way. No, instead of that, I often think that maybe that's how he operates, so it doesn't work with me. So I find someone else. And the same thing happens with guys with a healthy sense of worth, healthy sense of relationships. So then they might simply interpret it as a lack of interest. But guys who has the wound of not feeling enough, of feeling that they always needed to chase after someone to prove their own worth, to get validation from other people, these will be the guys who stays and then tries to win you over, tries to conquer you. And because you are faking it, you're faking this, being unbothered, basically. Then the moment you fall in love, the moment you are finally opening up to him, it signals to him that you are already conquered, that you are validating him. And therefore, he will lose interest because now you're not hooking him anymore with the wound, his wound of needing to prove himself through the validation of another woman. So now he's going to the next chase. So you see, you can try to fake it, but your energy will always be authentic. And it can be in very subtle ways that you might not even notice unless you're really, really aware of your inner world, of your unconscious, patterns and dynamics. But if you are really aware of it, then you wouldn't really fall into this pattern in the first place. And I can tell you that it kind of happened to me once when I found a man and we actually didn't fall in love. And what happened was that at that time, I was fresh out of the breakup. And I was really dead set in wanting a relationship that really works. So what happens is that I'm already good at vetting men. When I used the dating apps, I was already really good at selecting men who had serious intentions. But what happened was that I was in this performative feminine energy. What this meant was that, okay, I want a relationship that really works, it's sustainable long term. And I know a lot about the feminine energy, all these fluffy things. And now I know how to present myself as this woman, this high value woman. And now I found a man who apparently was high value, and he had a really great career. He really was in love with life. Well, he looked good on paper, really, and he was serious with his intention also to find a woman and a long-term relationship. But what happened was that he was complementary to my energy, which meant that he was actually in his performative masculine. So he tried to impress me with all these fancy dates, really. And he was doing everything right. But, since day one, I felt that something was actually off between us. And I couldn't really pinpoint what it was. But because I was so dead set in wanting a relationship that works, and this relationship looked good on paper, I decided to ignore my intuition. And, maybe it will be fine. Maybe we just need more dates to get to know each other. However, I found out later that our fundamental values are actually misaligned. So even though the superficial level, which is also important, by the way, which is the structure, our lives being compatible, things really looking sustainable, really. But because they just look good on the paper, but we lack the fundamental ingredients for a genuine connection. And I was already in this performative feminine, and he was in this performative masculine, that we were like, oh, we need to impress each other, basically, and present ourselves in a certain way. Then because we are in our minds, basically, so we never were in our hearts. Then what happens is that it created a disconnect. And we couldn't really fall in love with each other. And a few months later, we just broke up with each other, basically. So you have to understand that our energies will always be authentic. Energies cannot be faked, really. Like you can learn how to present yourself. You can learn how to, create even this rapport with people. Like there are so many techniques really out there. Like, oh, if you're talking with someone, mirror their body language. So if someone is like posing like this, you also pose like this. And those kind of things. And while they create the false sense of connection, they are really not creating connection at all, because you know that you are faking something. And when you do, either you will subconsciously know it or you consciously know it, that you are not having a genuine connection with them. And this is really not sustainable in the long run. And well, of course, that is what you might really want. So, for example, many women, they are stuck in the situation where they are financially dependent on someone, let's say, or something is at the stake, like the kids, and then they need to do it for survival. But these are the extreme cases. Then maybe, okay, they are stuck in this situation, then they need to learn this kind of manipulation techniques to get by the days. But if you really want a genuine connection, because let's be honest, women nowadays, we can achieve our own career, our financial independence. So if we can already do that, why do we get into a relationship where we need to perform? Like now, instead of performing just 8 hours per day, we are performing 24/7 maybe. So wouldn't it be even harder, right? So why get ourselves into this relationship where we need to keep the other person by performing? And why not really, if you can, like imagine, let's put our insecurities and fears aside. If there is a scenario, if there is a world, if there is a reality where you can really be loved by who you are, won't you actually want this? And unless you're really a master manipulator, like you will get yourself into certain situations that will bite you back. And those situations are not really fun at all then, because you might fall in love with someone. You might think that, oh, okay, I am acting like this unbothered woman. I am doing all the right things in the dating phase. But then you get yourself a man who, okay, seems to be good in the paper, seems to be consistent, seems to be all this fancy stuff, high value man. But then deep down, you don't feel this connection. Or you might actually feel happy and really satisfied because maybe you went through a lot of relationships that didn't work out. And now you find yourself a man who might even be obsessed with you. But then, if this man is obsessed with your mask, then actually your subconscious will know it. And you won't probably feel this safety, this security in the long run, because deep down your subconscious know that the moment that you cannot keep up with this mask, you cannot keep this relationship most probably. And by knowing this, your subconscious, if you do have this inherent desire to be truly loved, to be truly seen and feel the safety with this, your subconscious will still try to seek out ways and situations and people to satisfy this need. And then you might find yourself sabotaging the relationship that you have in worst case scenarios. So, as someone who studied extensively about the subconscious and about human relationships, and also experienced a relationship where I was bringing in the performative feminine energy, I can tell you that really avoid going through this route. And this is why authenticity, to me, it's so fundamental. It's like the foundation of my body of work. And you see, I am teaching here a lot of ways to relate with your partner, the man you're dating, your boyfriend, your husband. What I want you to understand is that learn about relational skills, learn about masculine and feminine polarity in relationships so that it can help you understand, for example, where you come from, why do you have certain needs, why do you feel a certain way in certain situations in relationships, and also understand why is the other person responding to a certain way and even reacting a certain way at times. What are usually their needs and why do they have certain needs? And use relational skills so you can co-create an emotionally safe space so that the emotional connection, the genuine connection, can truly organically take place and grow and flourish and bloom. So you don't want to manipulate the situation to create a fake connection, a fake emotional connection, but rather learn the skills so that you can co-create the safe space so that true emotional bond can flourish. Okay? And another thing that I want you to understand, everything that you learn from me, from other coaches, mentors, teachers, understand that it is fundamentally important to see if something that you learn, something that you hear about, truly resonates with how you feel or not. Because I can tell you that I learned a lot from different people, books, podcasts, teachers, etc. And what's important is that even with my teachers, I learn from them with a grain of salt. So if something doesn't really resonate, even if it means that because I cannot fully understand right away, if it doesn't resonate, I don't incorporate it for me. So let's say that if someone teaches a seduction thing, like a playful thing, and if something like really doesn't resonate with me, I don't do it. But if something like, oh, this sounds juicy, this sounds like it would be fun, then I would incorporate it. And for example, if someone says something like, oh, you have to hold back with your messages because you don't want to give the image of you being too available in the first dates. Like, to me, it doesn't really resonate. So I don't incorporate. But for example, if someone talks to me, similar thing, like, Monica, when you go to dating, you have to have the boundary of, if you have something, for example, already scheduled throughout the week, let's say that a guy wants to ask you out for a date on Wednesday night. Like, hey, Monica, do you want to go on a date? I like to invite you to this restaurant. And I already have something in my schedule. It's important for me to have the healthy boundaries of not adjusting myself. Like, I can be honest and not be too accommodating. Like saying that, oh, thank you for your invitation. Actually, I already have a yoga class in Wednesday night. Would it be possible if we schedule for the day after tomorrow, actually, so that we can actually, meet? And for example, if a guy says that, oh, let's meet tonight, and it's right now 7 p.m. Like, and someone says to me like a tip, like, hey, Monica, it's better if you don't accept this kind of things because this kind of invitation sounds like the other person is not really honoring your time. And this is very different. You see, it's very different from saying that, oh, you cannot be too easy because if a guy asks you out like this, you're being too easy if you accept it. No, but if someone says to me like, Monica, if you accept this kind of invitation, you might be giving the image of you just accepting any kind of invitation and not honoring your own time. And you're accepting basically the other person, not honoring the importance of your time and the importance of you feeling that you can prepare yourself, etc. So big difference, because one thing is coming from a healthy mindset and another is actually coming from unhealthy mindset. And this also brings me to a very, very important point. You see, our brain, our subconscious, is really sophisticated system, like sponge that absorbs more than just the words that we hear. So when we are looking at someone teaching something and speaking, let's say that you're watching a podcast, what happens is that your brain is not just hearing their words, your brain is absorbing their body language. Your brain is absorbing their tone of voice, and your brain is decoding and absorbing their core beliefs. So, what happens is that if a teacher or a content creator, let's say that she has bad experience in many relationships, and now she is out there teaching women to have boundaries. But then the way she teaches, her core beliefs are that all men are bad, that all men are inconsistent, and that all men are just interested in your body, so that you need to do things to keep them interested in the long run, etc. Now, what happens is that when you're listening to what they are teaching, like, oh, you need to behave like this, you need to not give them right away your body, you need to this and this and this, and all this while you are listening, your brain is already absorbing their beliefs. And now when you incorporate beliefs such as men are inherently bad or that they are just interested in your body, what happens could be that now you feel like you are subconsciously questioning yourself, like, am I just worth how I look? So maybe in a few years I will not be valuable at all as a woman, which is not true. And I can tell you that there was a time that I was really curious about the sugar baby content, because I wanted to know about the seduction, and I wanted to know about the attraction. Then I wanted to know what these guys have to say. So I went there, and when I found myself reading a book, I was starting to feel this yucky feeling inside of me. And because I already know how to do the inner work, because like I have this extensive like learning in the past years in personal development, spirituality, and then in the school, then what happened was that I realized that my self-worth was starting to get affected, because I was feeling that what if it means that me as a woman then is really all my value is just about my body. But this is not true, and this has not been true at all for my dating and relationships experience. And all my relationship experiences, and I didn't have many relationships, but like I had a marriage, and it was a relationship of 14 years in which 7 was marriage. And then after my divorce, I had 3 more relationships in the past. And what happened was that with all these men, there's an inherent level of respect as a fellow human being. And while one of them, we could never really fall in love with each other, there was still respect. And with the other 3 people, I always felt that there is this respect and esteem towards me, and I towards them. So it was not true at all with my experience that men are just, this simplistic bad people that people try to describe and that people believe. And many people, they believe in that because of their past relationship bad experiences. And unfortunately, many people, they are not inherently bad, but because everyone Like many people, they had past trauma, even from childhood, and past relationship baggages. So, for example, there are many guys who learned pickup techniques because they had a woman actually who broke their hearts in the past and made them question their worth. But instead of proper healing, they went through a darker route. And then there are many women that are the same thing actually, that they had been hurt by a few men, that they went through this dark route of learning from sugar babies, learning from the dark feminine teachers, and all those things. So it's not that they are really bad, and some of them, they do have the intention. Like many women that got hurt, they really wanted to help other women to avoid being hurt, but because they learned these techniques, they are just propagating all this pain in the end. Because when you teach manipulation, you are propagating manipulation, and when you propagate manipulation, you are propagating suffering, because you are now resonating with wounded people instead of having a healthier partner. Now you are manifesting unhealthy partners that matches your energy as well. So this is why I do have compassion for them, but it is also so important for people to understand that when you learn from someone, even if just listening to their podcasts, even if just watching their YouTube videos, just be mindful who you are learning with, because the learning comes with a set of limiting beliefs that you might not want to incorporate. And nowadays, learning about all this, I truly protect my own energy so that I don't accidentally absorb the limiting beliefs subconsciously that I don't want to inherit. Because when we have this belief that, oh, all men are bad, all women are bad, then that's what we are actually resonating, because we are applying then manipulation techniques. Then we are attracting unhealthy men, women. Then they will hurt us again, and we are hurting them again. Then you see all this toxicity is propagating. Okay, so with this video, I really want to set the foundation that my body of work is focused on authenticity first and foremost, because that really is the basis of having authentic connections. Because without authenticity, you cannot truly have a connection with someone, because you are then just connecting with each other's masks, and then you're just performing. And people perform because they are afraid that the real them will not be loved. And because of that, they hide. And what happens when you hide? People cannot see you. So men who genuinely sees you as their dream type of woman, now they cannot find you because you are hidden. And now the wrong man who sees what you are presenting as valuable are actually finding you. And then you will continue to not feel happy in relationships, especially if your heart deeply, deeply desires the authentic connection. So I really hope that this video can help you reflect a bit also on what you truly desire, because it is not easy to tap into our true desires and while putting the fears and insecurities aside. Because what happens is that we all have core needs and desires within us. But then, because we have so many layers of insecurities, limiting beliefs, maybe believing that we cannot really manifest what we truly, truly want and desire, or maybe that the circumstances are not favorable, whatever, then all these genuine desires are covered by all these limiting beliefs, fears, and insecurities. So this is also why we have such hard time understanding what is it that we truly, truly desire. Like such a simple question can be so hard to tap into at times. But if you really have the courage to do the inner work and peel off layers of insecurities and peel off layers of limiting beliefs, then you will truly find yourself able to manifest someone who is more aligned, someone who is more genuine. Then you don't need to feel so much that you need to put up a front to perform in a certain way. And always remember, learn relational skills so that you can allow the genuine connection to sprout, to bloom, to blossom. Because, you know, we often misunderstand each other. We lack relational skills. So, for example, when, let's say, couples, they are fighting and they cannot really understand each other, and then we can not really learn how to solve it, but learn relational skills so that you can understand where each other comes from and how to navigate through the challenges together, so that the connection can finally grow, so that insecurities and fears and traumas can get out of the way and be healed, and you can connect truly with each other and vulnerably. And that in itself is a journey, really. So, my name is Monica, and I am the teacher of Blooming Feminine Academy. And I hope that this video really helps you understand why it is so important to have authenticity first and foremost in relationships.